what a deserving win they've had. 2 years before at Lords, they had lost to England the ICC World Championship. And today they have won this elusive, the ultimate World Test Championship. And the wait for Virat Kohli still goes on.
Hello everyone, welcome to Straight Bat with Gulf News and Mr. Cricket UAE, that is Ani Sajan. So here we are back today with the ultimate test, that is that World Test Cricket Championship between India and New Zealand. New Zealand has turned out to be worthy victors, 8-wicket victory, and that too in a match which we thought would be affected by rain. In fact, it was affected by rain. 2 full days of match, full days of play lost, and several sessions lost to rain. But yet, in the end, New Zealand won by 8 wickets. With me to discuss the match is Ani Sajan and Gautam Bhattacharya. Anis, what do you make of the match?
Good evening, Sham. Good evening, Gautam. Good evening, all the gorgeous people of Gulf News. Yesterday, when we were talking, we thought draw is the likely result, but New Zealand bowlers had other ideas. And when they were chasing a meager total of 139, Williamson and Ross Taylor soaked up the pressure put on by Ashwin in the start. And what a deserving win they've had. 2 years before at Lords, they had lost to England the ICC World Championship. And today, they have won this elusive, the ultimate World Test Championship. And the wait for Virat Kohli still goes on. So this has been cricket at its highest quality. One team, the deserving team, has gone on to win. That is New Zealand.
Gautam, you can't grudge New Zealand's victory, isn't it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it was a very fulfilling test match, and New Zealand, as Anish Bhai said, I mean, it could be just a coincidence, but it started as a cycle. I mean, within months of that heartbreak at Lords, this World Test Championship cycle started with the Ashes, and today New Zealand's journey ends in a brilliant fashion.
I mean, it's actually poetic justice, isn't it? Having lost the World Cup so closely, having won came so closely, and yet losing in a very tragic fashion. So this is justice served in a manner of speaking, really.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But if you look back at the seeds of this victory has been laid in the run up to this tournament or run up to the test. Can you elaborate on that, Anis?
Of course, Sham, when you talk about the first innings of India, when we have 142 for 3, going into the third day after the first day was washed out, Carl Jamieson came back and took the prize wicket of Virat Kohli, and then he picked up 4 more wickets, and that is where he halted India to 217. And mind you, India had come back with the bowlers, but the last 5 batsmen put on 110 runs, whereas India's last 5 batsmen put on 60-odd runs. So that 30 runs lead in the end, to be very honest, proved to be very, very decisive. So it was like gold dust for New Zealand. And that 30 runs, I wouldn't say that made New Zealand win, but probably with that mindset, India went into the match to save the game rather than to go for a win. And in the end, New Zealand were too good, both with the ball, with the bat, and mind you, they held their catches, bearing 1 drop catch of Rishabh Pant by Saudi.
Before the test started, I had personally stuck my neck out and said that the team which bats better will win, simply because that was on the basis that both the teams have very good pace attacks. So whichever batsman conquers the conditions will win. Gautam, did that happen here?
Yes, absolutely, Sham. I mean, if we compare the two, I mean, a number of factors made the difference. I mean, one of the biggest factors was Ken Williamson's approach in both the innings, 49 and again a half century here. The other thing was the contribution of the tailenders, the 3 key partnerships in the first innings, which gave them those 25, 30 runs, but as Anis summed it up, that worth its weight in gold. And then finally, the overall quality of swing bowling between the two teams, that again made the difference.
Gautam, you hit on the nail, hit the nail on the head there. New Zealand, as a bowling pack, bowled much better than India. Do you agree with that, Anis?
Yes, of course, Sham, you have to agree that I remember we discussing in the first night when India had batted that probably New Zealand has missed a trick by not taking a spinner. And in the end, we felt that it was turning and biting when Ashwin was bowling and to some stage Jadeja. But you have to give it to their bowlers after that first hour on the first second day rather when India batted. Their bowlers came back and kept that tidy line and length, wherein Indian bowlers were a bit short in their length, especially the fast bowlers, Bumrah. I would say more of even the other fast bowlers erred in their length, and that was the difference between the two sides. If you see the height which Kyle Jamieson used, he was making sure that he was bowling that back of the length ball, which was straightening enough, where the batsman like Virat Kohli were just poking it and edging it, and that proved to be the difference. The swing bowling of New Zealand was better than the Indian swing bowling. India was more of seam, New Zealand was more of swing.
I know it's no point in discussing what happened earlier, but we did mention in our preview about the balance of the attack, whether the side India needed two spinners. So in hindsight, that didn't really work out, didn't it, Gautam? Two spinners was a luxury in this pitch.
Yes, yes, Sham. We'll have to admit that two spinners, the ploy of keeping two spinners, especially when India got the opportunity to change the side if they wanted to, that didn't work because till the fifth day, I mean, till the fifth day, there was hardly any wear and tear on the wicket. I mean, whatever was there, some bowler's footmark, but it was a very good wicket, sporting wicket, I would say. And today, Ashwin, he was trying all the tricks in the bag to get something out of that. One that straightened, that gave him a wicket. Another one was his, that hurried through. But overall, two spinners, as Nasir Hussain, I think, said at one point of time that it's a luxury. He was very categoric about it. And I think we'll have to agree with that.
And you see, even before the test match started, or because India had announced the team, and Sunil Gavaskar said on the fourth and fifth day, the spinners could be a handful, could be very handy actually. But when you look back, even in the Indian victories in England, where I can only remember the 1971 win being brought by the spinners. That is that to the with a wizard called B.S. Chandrasekhar. After that, it has been the Indian medium pacers who had carved out victories for India. So I don't remember a time when, after barring 71 or after the post 71 session, I don't remember an instance of spinners bringing victory for India in England. So I don't know where this undue emphasis on spinners. I mean, this is not the first time. Like, if you remember, I remember Anis even mentioned that last time also during a tour of England, Shastri and Kohli made the mistake of packing in a spinner when pace was the order of the day. So can you elaborate on that?
Yes, Sham, let's be very upfront about it, that India had an opportunity, like Gautam mentioned, to change the squad after the first day was washed out. And you could see the forecast as well as it was cloudy and the condition demanded an extra seamer. If India wanted to go with one spinner, it would have been fine. Now today it's easy for us after the defeat to speak, but it was more logical, and that is why probably New Zealand did not go without any spinner, which was like taking a big risk. But India had the luxury of having one spinner. So in hindsight, we probably felt because the bowlers were tiring, or whether it was Shami, Bumrah, or Ishant after bowling long spells. So that one extra seamer would have definitely made a difference. And who knows what would have happened if we had gone with that extra seamer, because in the end, we took that spinner in Jadeja, who we thought who would bat, but unfortunately, he couldn't deliver with the bat. And with the ball, I'm afraid also he couldn't pick up any wickets. So in hindsight, we can say India probably missed a trick by not picking up that extra seamer in Siraj.
Anyway, the match is done and dusted, and New Zealand are the winners of the ultimate test and very thoroughly winning the side really. And Kane Williamson for his fantastic effort, they deserved it. Now, where do India go from here? Because we have the test against England coming up. Gautam?
Yeah, I think, see, there is no need to worry as such. I mean, here we are talking about the spinner, all right, but it's also a fact that in both innings, the batting imploded to a certain extent. First innings, we have discussed about it from that 146 for 3, in 70 odd runs, losing 7 wickets. Second innings, if Rishabh Pant hadn't played that innings of 41, the match would have been over much before. So
It would have been very embarrassing.
yeah, so if the batting remains a key area, then that additional spinner or not, I mean that factor gets receded into the background. But I'm sure the team's think tank, the decision is going to be questioned. Number one. Number two is there is a 6-week gap now before the first test starts on August 4, and the team is actually getting holiday for some 3 weeks, so they'll be doing their holiday there. But in the meanwhile, what's happening is the Indian B team, they're playing this white ball series in Sri Lanka. So depending on how Bhuvaneshwar Kumar's fitness holds up, if he can bowl that 15, 17 overs on a given day, then one can think about it. It's all actually optional. The only advantage with him is he's an all-rounder actually, So otherwise, you already have Shiraj in the team. He deserves a break. He's a superior quality swing bowler, really, and he's a very rhythm bowler. I mean, he's a guy who can really do the damage if he's up to it.
What do you think of the India prospects for the forthcoming test against England, especially in view of this defeat against, or say, New Zealand for that matter? I would say that the India may have lost, but there is there is nothing to be ashamed of, because they had a very good run up to the tournament, that they were beaten by a wonderful side, or a good, very balanced side. So now what we need to look at is the test series coming up against England, and your thoughts on that.
You are absolutely right that you don't have to be ashamed that one team wins and one team loses. But like Gautam mentioned, it's the batting which is a worrying thing. After the Australian series, if you see even on England against the test series in England, India's batting faltered when they lost the first test match. And then barring Rohit Sharma, who played one innings of 160, the rest all the batsmen have struggled, whether it is Pujara. We had a Rishabh Pant special in the last innings of that test match. And even in this test match, if you have to see, we had starts, but nobody went on to make a big score, whether it is Virat Kohli, whether it is Ajinkya Rahane, whether it is Rishabh Pant, whether it is Rohit Sharma, whether it is Shubman Gill. So I'm afraid if India has to compete well in England, where they have miserably failed in the last 3 series, if the batting doesn't come to the party, India will struggle again, no matter how good your bowling is. But you need some runs on the board to defend. And today, that's what was the difference. Had India got that extra 50 runs, who knows what would have happened. So the batting has to come to the party. And mind you, England are not going to dish out flat wickets. The conditions depends on the overhead skies, but they are going to keep grass, as India kept during their series where they made spinning wickets.
So, Gautam, over the next 6 weeks, do you think that do you see India just fine tuning their batting and be ready for the English bowlers? Remember, they still have Anderson around.
See, fine tuning can only be done like after when they reassemble after these 3 weeks or so. The BCCI should get moving in trying to organize at least a couple of core games. Those 3-day, 4-day games which they used to play before. Now, I am told that, these games are again in these times of pandemic. Apparently, these games are a bit of a problem. They are not that easy to organize. This squad that will be going to Sri Lanka, now trust Rahul Dravid had already asked for a few warm-up games, and he has been denied. He said that no, he'll have to play intra-squad games. So I don't know whether that is going to be possible. If possible, they should try to play and look at what other options they have. See, they only have KL Rahul to fit in somewhere, because the other problem that you have is your number 5, your Pujara, and number 5 Rahane. They are also becoming concern areas. So that these are some of the things that need to be addressed. I think only spending time in the middle can be the only solution. And for that, if they don't get these tour matches, then I think it has to be left to practice time rather than game time. More practice time possibly.
Yeah, that is a huge handicap, the lack of practice matches. And I mean, that was a good explanation of why there can't be tour matches, because normally tour matches help fine tune your technique. Not just that, also it helps you to find out the batsman in form or the bowler in form. So that opportunity is lost here, which means we would go back into the England series, which pretty much the same squad and with the same issues. You pointed out Pujara and Rahane's issues. Pujara, I would think uh, maybe after Australia, he had a very good run. So did Rahane, and after that, we didn't see much of that. Anis, do you think those are problem areas, Pujara and Rahane?
Yes, very much. Pujara's last 100 came probably 3 years ago. That also was in 2018, if I'm not wrong, at the same ground, if I'm not wrong. He scored 100 at this ground against
Yes,
England.
yes.
It's been a long time coming. And when you talk about Rahane, bearing that 100 which he scored against Australia in Melbourne, where India bounced back to square the series, he scored 1 half century. He was eluded of a half century in this match. But concerns are there. And so, you were talking about the practice game, you see, BCCI is rich enough to probably, the earlier thing was, thought was that they will be having practice match with the A team and the B team. So I am not, I'm a bit surprised why this was not organized. Okay, if you cannot get from the county teams, you can probably play a proper practice match between your A team and B team, because what you do as a practice match and what you do between yourself, between your 15 guys or 18 guys, is a different thing. A competitive match definitely makes a difference, and that gives you enough batting or bowling time. And in this match, like they mentioned about why Bumrah was not able to bowl the right length, or Shami not able to bowl the right length, is bowlers also need practice like batsmen. So I'm afraid India lacked that, but they have now time against the England series. Instead of holidaying for 3 weeks, probably they can holiday for 10 days and do the practice and be ready to take on England, and to show that that was a one-off defeat against New Zealand. They're still the number one side. Okay, albeit that New Zealand is now the number one side, but you need to prove it to the world. Yes, you are world beaters by beating England in their own den.
The England series is 6 weeks away, and we will all get another opportunity to discuss the prospects of it. But since it is 6 weeks away, let's look at the series and say, Gautam, what do you think are the India's prospects given the showing in this match?
No, I think India were definitely a bit undercooked here. Only point is, this 6 week is a very unusual gap. Had it been that, okay, after about, in a space of 7 to 10 days, the series is starting, we could have said that the team would have galvanized better and do better. So it's going to be effectively a fresh start. I don't think there's any, any reason for any radical change. I mean, if they want to play an extra batsman, I mean, they can, think of somebody with a bit of resilience. So that's where Hanuma Bihari's thought comes to mind. Yeah. So he should be your man, because Sham, the first test match you're going to play in Trent Bridge, which is a very, the typical English atmosphere, and the ball will do a bit. And as we all know, that after that experience England has had on the Ahmedabad wicket and Chennai wicket, they're going to pay back in the same point.
They'll be ready for us. Well, what are your thoughts, Arif? I mean, definitely, I completely agree with Gautam on the fact that they will be ready for us with some real seeming wickets, real wicked ones, really. So, but there is also that's a double-edged sword here, simply because India has a very good seam attack as well. Whereas in spinning wickets, England didn't have as good as spinners as India had. So, do you think the seeming wickets England prepares will backfire on them, Anis?
Not really. Last year also they had prepared seeming wickets, and the difference was the batting, wherein only Virat Kohli was scoring runs. Rest all were struggling. You do not want 30s and 40s. You want hundreds. And in English conditions, even if you're set at 60 or 70, you might get a good ball and you might edge it. So the more you know where your off spin is or where the ball is pitching, and you let that ball go. you can score big runs, and that is what Virat Kohli showed last time. And we saw that in this test match. I'm afraid we had not 150 in the whole test match. If I'm right, not one guy scored a 50, and that proved to be the difference. Whereas for New Zealand, you had a 50 from Devon Conway, you had a 50 from their captain Williamson,
Yeah.
and he showed so much of resilience. He fought hard. You see the difference between the two teams. Whereas New Zealand soaked up the pressure when it mattered. Whenever there was an opportunity, they grabbed it with both hands. Whereas India had its moments, India let it slip away.
Just to come back to this match, why I mean I can't seem to get away from it simply because yesterday I said that that 143 for 217 all out was in my back of my mind. Why I said that is because we have seen this. This is a kind of a, a recurring nightmare for India, because this we have seen that happen several times in the past. The one of them which I'll never forget is losing a match to Australia in a session when Michael Clark came in and bowled his left-arm spinners. And Michael Clark is a part-time bowler, and we succumbed to them, and we lost the match badly. So this also happened when with the same venue where Moeen Ali turned it with 8 wickets in both innings. So this is uh, kind of brittlety which we see far too often. Either when the openers bat, everybody else will pitch in. When the openers fail, they will be fall in a heap. What is the remedy you see here? You said there are possible slots where Rahane and Pujara could be replaced. But beyond Hanuma Vihari or KL Rahul, do you think that will help repair this brittlety?
One thing is, it may sound strange if I say so, but there should be more accountability from the senior players. I mean, somebody like Rohit Sharma, who is a white ball king. I mean, in that last England World Cup, 5 centuries he has scored there. Obviously, the type of games are like chalk and cheese, but he should be able to, grit his teeth and hang on there. I mean, no excuse is good enough there. Shubman Gill, we know that he has the technique, but he has been groomed. He has been touted as the next big thing in Indian batting for about 4 years now. So these two guys, it's not a question of Pujara and Rahane alone. I mean, Pujara has shown enormous character in overseas conditions. Yeah, same with Rahane. So these batsmen need to, really take it to the next level, because option wise, you don't have much. You can use maybe KL Rahul at number 3 slot, or maybe you can think about tinkering the opening slot, but that is no guarantee. Then again, Hanuma Bihari, you're trying to, it's a question of if you want to play that extra batsman. But we have seen that, 3 seamers are often either it's, instead of using spinners just for change of ends or to hasten, getting your new ball, that 4th seamer is necessary. Now, whom you are going to get, if you are going to play a complete bowler in Shiraj and go all out, fine. But I think you will need a bit of support in your number 7 position. So you can also think of Shardul Thakur. May not be the best bet, but he's the best available that you have under the circumstances. Or if you feel that Bhuvneshwar Kumar can manage the workload, then by all means, you should take him.
Yeah, in any case, I don't think India will be playing 2 spinners. I mean, at least for the rest of the England tour.
I hope they don't.
That?
Of course, I hope they don't. We go on making these big statements at the start of the match that our bowlers are good for all conditions. Let's accept the fact that has backfired very badly.
And not for the first time.
Yes.
I guess that's all for today. Unless you have something more to add, I think we can call it a day.
Well, Shyam, I can only say, as I mentioned in my introduction, that the wait for an ICC trophy, in fact, incidentally, it was 8 years ago. Today, we had won the Champions Trophy, beating England in their hometown. And after that, we probably have lost the Champions Trophy final to Pakistan. We've lost the semi-final to New Zealand last year. in 2019, then the T20 World Cup. We've been coming close, but I said we have been the bridesmaid.
Right.
But Gautam, don't you agree that we still have the team to do it?
No, see that's why the level of regret is much more. I mean, I think Anis must have experienced it, but his heartburns will be more. I mean, I was down there as a spectator, but I'd gone to one of the few matches that I watched was India versus Bangladesh. So I saw Rohit on song there at Edgbaston. So anyway, we do have the team, but I think we also need to talk about New Zealand a bit. I mean, with the limited resources that this team has, the planning had been wonderful. The only grouse that is often raked up against them is they are good enough, very good at home, but they don't travel that well. In England, this time they had the conditions which was very akin to New Zealand. But they should also, by the time the next cycle of WTC starts, they should look at being an all-weather team kind of a thing. I think they need at least 1 to 2 decent spinners for that, and they can gradually try to make a match of it. So this is it. That's all we can say at this point.
All right.
So I think that wraps up pretty much everything, and we will look forward to the series against England with fresh hope and optimism. So thank you everyone for joining us with this edition for the World Test Cricket Championship, and we will be back with you for the next series against England. Till then, please log on to our gulfnews.com for frequent updates, as also our social media channels, Instagram and Facebook.